Welcome, thank you for joining me. Welcome to May, and I'm so happy that you have decided to spend a little time here with us at Quilted Joy and talk a little bit about rulers, and we've got some other great things to share with you today. So I appreciate your time as always, and if you are ever looking for past recordings of the Quilted Joy Clubhouse, just know they're all over on our YouTube channel. So we have it going back a couple years now where you can go back and watch all of those episodes. So you can go back and see all of those quilts that I designed as far as like how I would quilt it if it were my quilt. You can go back and watch all of our fabulous Looky video segments where we get tours of different studio setups, and of course our different show and tell where we get to celebrate your wins and your quilts that you've completed, as well as all of the programs that we've put together, little educational snippets to grow your machine quilting skills and knowledge over the years. So do go back and watch all those. I will say that today, we have pre-recorded this particular edition of the Clubhouse meeting because I am in Seattle right now. In fact, I think today I have, so today is the day that I have scheduled in Seattle to meet up with an old high school friend that I have not seen in probably 20 years, and she lives in Seattle. So I sent her a message out of the blue, and we're going to meet in the lobby in downtown Seattle, and she's going to show me her city. So always good to connect with somebody that you haven't seen in a while. So that's what I'm doing today. That's why we have this recorded. But I will be watching later and just looking at what your questions are in the chat today so that we can address those during our Ask Me Anything, which will be in May. Kelsey, do you know the date of that? It's the third weekend, the third Wednesday in May, and it is at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And so any questions that you put over there in the chat today, we'll address those on that third Wednesday in May for our Ask Me Anything, where we just get to chat about stuff. So I do have a question for you though. If you enjoy using pre-cuts, pre-cut fabric packs, could you put over there in the chat like which kind of pre-cut that you typically love using? Are you a fat quarter stack kind of person? Are you a 10-inch layer cake fabric pre-cut kind of person? Are you a 5-inch charm square kind of person, or are you a jelly roll kind of person? So is there a particular pre-cut that you enjoy over others? Put it over there in the chat. I'm curious about it. I'm starting to kind of venture more into pre-cuts. I'm not sure why I haven't used a whole bunch of pre-cuts in the past. Maybe it's because a lot of the patterns that I do, I'm designing from scratch for magazines and things, so there's a lot of oopsies. So I need a lot of fabric to recover from the oopsies and to make changes on the fly for those design opportunities that arise when you're creating a pattern from scratch. But I am venturing into pre-cut. So I'm curious what you enjoy doing. So pop it over there in the chat, and over there in the chat, tell me where you're watching from, and I will check it out when I get back from Seattle. And I did want to tell you that we do have our May limited edition thread pack, our Glide thread pack, and it is the Pixie Petals limited edition thread pack. And so those three colors in our thread pack are Iris, Sage, and Pinot. Don't you love them together? Aren't they gorgeous? So those are the Pixie Petals. And of course, those will only be available during the month of May. So that's our limited edition Glide thread pack. You can find that over there at quiltedjoy.com. And then I have super exciting news for you. So this whole week in Kentucky, in Louisville, is our Derby celebration. It actually goes on 2 weeks before Derby. And we have fireworks, and we have boat races, and we have parades, and like the whole town gets super excited about the Kentucky Derby. And the Kentucky Derby is always that first Saturday in May. So to celebrate the Kentucky Derby, we are having a Glide thread sale. So from now, this is Wednesday, May the 4th, 2022. So if you're watching this in years in the future, this is, we're talking about 2022, May 4th through May 7th. And you can find all of that over there at quiltedjoy.com and snag some really great deals on glide thread in celebration of the Kentucky Derby. So go baby go is what we yell at the horses as they go around the track. And if you have the time on Saturday to watch the horses run, it's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, as they say, and it is super fun to watch those horses run around the track, and everybody's in their hats, and the rose blanket comes out and goes over the horse. It's quite the pageantry. So anyway, the glide thread sale, 10% off with the coupon Derby10, and that's all in capital letters, and that's good from May 4th through May 7th, 2022. Okay, so today we are talking about swags. Now, last month we talked about piano keys, and we're really talking about how to use rulers in a border setting. In particular, in larger borders, rulers are really great in larger borders because they can help you break those spaces down more easily. And in last month's ruler segment, we talked about a particular ruler that you use the interior of the ruler to operate the machine. So that was the Pro Line 1 and Pro Line 2 rulers is what we were using for piano keys. So if you haven't seen that, go back and watch that, because I think it'll help you and help make a little bit more sense when I say a ruler that we're working on the inside versus the outside. So here's the Pro Line. You would use the interior for those piano key speed boards that we talked about last month, but you can also use this outside edge as well. Now, I want you to notice over here that opening, that means where the opening is has a little flex to it so that you can get it, around your needle. So you wouldn't use this side, the outside edge of this side. One, it has a cutout, right? But it's also got some flex to it. So instead, to use an outside edge of this ruler, you're going to choose the opposite end, the end that doesn't have an opening. And you'll notice there's a lot of different marks on this ruler. So I'm just going to align this side so that when my needle comes into that corner, it will hit the corner of the border and the panel. And that will give me the position then of where to start it on this side, because we're going to turn a corner with this ruler. So I'm going to go needle down, needle up. And I will say that the first thing I would have done is stitch in the ditch around this border. And then keep in mind, I'm using a very dark thread here so that you can see it. In real life, I would use a thread that blends so that I'm not having to kind of pay so close attention to what I'm doing. And then finally, on this one, I would also make sure that I have that a center mark on this ruler. And the reason I want to do that is it just helps me with alignment. So I've just got another ruler here I'm going to lay down, and I have a permanent marker here. It's just a Sharpie, and I'm going to mark on, actually physically on my ruler. That's the one mark I wish this ruler had, but you can mark on it with a Sharpie, and then when you're done with that mark, you can take it off with some isopropyl alcohol. So I'm going to align it with that first etched line on the ruler, and that will give me my position for this large swag. So this first swag is going to be a great one to use for a bigger border. All right, and I'm going to just turn the motor on, and I'm going to head up. Because it's such a big ruler, I'm going to stop in that center top position, and that will give me a chance then to rotate my hands into a better position, and hopefully you can see that all right. And now I'm in that corner. So I'm going to go needle down, and now what I have got is this miter marked out with some air erasable pen there. And there's a few different ways that I could handle this particular this miter here. There's a few different ways I can do it, and I can use different angles on this ruler, or I could go ahead and break out. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. The next round I'm going to do is with an 8-inch circle. So I think I'm actually going to use this 8-inch circle and nest it up against the hopping foot, and then I'm going to head up into this miter. Once I hit that miter, then I'm going to head back down to that corner, and I'm going to position that ruler so it's nested up against that ruler foot. And when I come back down, I'm going to have it be 1/4 inch away from that corner so that it's positioned appropriately. And then I'm going to head on using the top side of that ruler. It's a little bit easier to hold when I'm going in this direction because I can splay out my hands. Okay, and then I would just slide this over and continue on. But for our purposes here, I just want to show you, so I'm back to that 8-inch ruler. So I'm going to nest it up against the hopping foot, and I'm going to align one of these etched lines on my seam, and then I'm going to head back. And that will nest a smaller swag inside that larger swag area. So that Proline ruler, the Proline 1 and Proline 2, they're kind of unique in that you can do it both outside and inside. There's ways to use the ruler both ways. And I'm going to stop here at the top and just move my hand around. So the apex of any design is a little sneaky place that you can align a ruler and reposition your hands. Okay, so that would be beautiful, right? There's even an opportunity to use the smaller arc on this Proline ruler. Again, not the side with the opening. You want to use the other side. And you can get even one more little small swag inside there. All right, and then here I am. Ooh, I moved the camera. Kelsey, is that better?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. All right, I'll try not to move the camera. And then for this swag, I could come up and I could do something pretty in there, or like a feathers or loops or wishbones, like anything. Or I could actually do just a slightly smaller circle. So I'm going to hold it with my non-dominant hand, head up to that miter, stop with the needle in the down position, rotate my circle ruler. Again, this is an 8-inch, so technically it's a 7.5-inch piece of acrylic. But once the hopping foot adds that 1/2 inch all the way around, it's going to give me an 8-inch circle. All right, so I'm going to nest this side of my Proline 1 up against the hopping foot and head over. And it looks like I moved it slightly, because you'll see, I want to show you my mistake so that you see my mistake. I always want to be honest about when I have an oopsie, and I would pick this out in real life. I would pick this out. So I just want you to see where it got kind of flat right there? I think I just moved the ruler ever so slightly and I got a flat part. I'm going to fill this interior space up with a design, and let's see if that kind of hides or cheats that line a little bit. Sometimes if you add extra lines, you can avoid picking stuff out, but in real life, I would probably pick that out. Okay, so we've got the body of our swags, and they're beautiful, right? There's no reason to think that I have to do anything more. I would just continue on, right? Continue on my borders. And these are great designs for big borders, and they're beautiful, but I could also fill them. So let's see about filling this one. I'm going to bring my bobbin thread up, and I'm just going to do some tacking stitches here. And then let me think. I'm trying to decide. I think I'm going to do wishbones. So when I do wishbones, it's like I think of it as figure eights, infinity signs, capital letter cursive L's, and I'm coming out to the edges. And what's great about wishbones is that they change size pretty easily. So you can see as we get down here to the bottom, I'm going to make them smaller. All right, and then I'm going to put them up into here. And as I go up into here, I'm going to space them out so that I have a way to get out. So let's see how that works. So and now I'm going to head out so that I can exit the space. And now I'm going to do those same wishbones, and let's see if I can hide my mistake here. Sometimes just a few more lines to it, the eye is just like, woo, there's a lot going on. And of course the eye sees symmetry so well. And then I'm going to finish it. All right, so, and I would love to see it if you do play with some swags and you put a swag border on your quilt, put it in the clubhouse, post a photo of it there in Facebook on our Quilted Joy Clubhouse, because I would love to see what you make of your swag designs as well. There's loads of ways to dress them up. And I do want to thank our sponsor, APQS. APQS machines are 100% handcrafted in Iowa. They are loved the world over and they come with a lifetime warranty. We are going to be having an APQS roadshow here at Quilted Joy on May 14th, Saturday, May 14th. And if you would like to register for that roadshow, it's a free event. It's just an educational event for folks who may be in the market for a long arm machine for the first time, or perhaps you are stepping up from an older machine or a different brand that you want to move over to APQS. So we will have that roadshow here. I'll be hosting it on May 14th. If you want to sign up, just give us a call, or you can follow the link on our homepage there at quiltedjoy.com and sign up. You can also get more information about APQS machines from your local APQS store, your local APQS dealer, or of course at apqs.com. So thank you so much, APQS. We love you. All right, you guys, wait till you see Emilie's studio, Emilie's sewing room. You're going to love it. And I just thank Emilie so much for spending a little time with me. We recorded this a couple weeks back, and she gave me a tour of her amazing space. Wait till you see it. Hi, Emilie. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Angela, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for talking with me today. I can't wait to see your studio. Where are you located?
I'm in Fairborn, Ohio, just outside of Dayton.
Dayton, Ohio. Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Well, you're kind of close to me. We're in Louisville. I think Dayton's like 3 hours or something like that.
Yep, about 2.5, 3. Yep.
Yeah. So we're close. All right. And are you in your home? Are you in a standalone building?
Nope, I'm in our basement.
Perfect. All right. Well, can you turn the camera around so we can see your sewing space?
Sure.
Awesome. You got it.
So,
yeah. Walk. Oh, I see AccuCut dies.
Yeah, some nice storage. My husband put that up for me, and then I have some on the ground.
Yeah.
You see the edge of the elliptical. I'm trying to get that out of here.
The elliptical. And you've got all of your projects and books and magazines.
Yep. My husband did the built-in shelves, so
nice.
They work well.
Yeah.
I don't have as big of a stash as most people, but I'm working on it.
There you go. You got to have goals. Got to have goals, Emilie.
Exactly. My pre-cuts.
Yeah. That's like a toy storage thing, isn't it?
It is. We used it when my daughter was little, and it still functions and is a good shape. So
yeah.
And then my short list of projects, I have way more.
Oh, yeah. So you put them up there on the board to keep track of them.
Yep. The ones that I want to do soon. And then I leave the check marks up there for just a little while, because that gives me a little bit of a sense of accomplishment before I erase them.
Yeah. So you piece down here too. This is where you piece
I do. From? So this is my little sewing section, which worked out well. We repurposed an office desk, but it works well.
Sure. You got a nice comfy chair, and then I see you've got that's a cutting station. Is it an ironing board too, or is it just
not? It's a table that we had. And my husband made it taller. He made these blocks and put some molding and painted them really nicely. Sorry, you can't see that.
No, I can see it fine. That was really nice.
So it puts it much higher, so I'm not bending over quite as much.
Right. Yeah. And then you've got a larger pressing area.
Yeah. So over here is my ironing board and design wall. Let me see if I can look up. Which is nice, because it has the foam board in there. So if I do want to use pins, I can, and I don't have to worry about sticking them into the wall.
I like your teapots too.
Yeah, that's the Mad Hatter, Tulip Pink Mad Hatter I'm working on. There's lots of little pieces, but I love the colors. So
yeah. And then you quilt for others?
I do. Yeah.
And so that's how you store the quilts that are waiting?
Yes. Which it works well. There's storage behind there, so we most don't need to get in there very often. But the the bar lifts up easily. So it's easy to get back there, but it's functional.
Sure. Oh man, and you can quilt and play the guitar. Look at you.
Oh, those are my husband's. There wasn't room. We switched spaces. He was down here and I was in an extra bedroom, and he just did not have room for those.
I love it.
So they're down here and keep me company.
I love it. I love it. And then you've got a long arm. What is that, Emilie?
It is Emilie. Yes,
Emilie.
and I love it.
And you've got it on a 12-foot table?
12-foot, correct.
Right. And so you are not computerized. You're doing it free motion from the front and following pantographs in the back.
Correct for now.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that I had a very good skill base before I went computerized, although I know that there's a big learning curve with the computer as well. So.
And so is that a design wall there as well, that you've got your beautiful black and white?
No, that's a quilt that I did a couple years ago before I got the long arm, and Michelle Baker in Missoula, Montana quilted that for me. It was for a quilt show that didn't end up happening because of COVID.
Yeah.
So
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. So you've got some stuff on the wall there that you've got hanging up. So I want to be nosy and see what you got hanging up over there.
Yeah, it's just let's see. Again, we repurposed a part of a return for a desk. So I have my air and my bobbins and my bobbin winder, and then some, the pegboard to hang my rulers, and I have a couple stencils up there. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah. Yeah, so the tools are right there at the ready.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Do you have a favorite ruler? Is there one that you like the most? Just curious.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I haven't done too much ruler work, mostly all over edge to edge. So that's something I'm building on that skill. And so I'm sure that one is going to be a front runner.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. And then what, next to your guitar collection, is that, so you've got like an entertainment center and a TV?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can watch TV while you're stitching?
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Where do you keep all your thread, Emilie?
My thread is actually in this. I don't want to move too fast for you.
Yeah.
My thread is in the 3-drawer plastic.
Yeah.
Right there, right by everything else. So.
And you keep rolls of batting then under your
I do
long arm?
for now. Yeah. I didn't have, since it's not too large of a space, it was kind of hard to get the really giant rolls. So.
Yeah.
But they're all in plastic, so they're protected.
Sure. Yeah, that's because that's right where my cats would be. If they weren't in the plastic, they'd be sitting right on top of them saying, Thank you for my new tuffet. Yes. Thank you very much. Well, can you turn your camera around so we can see you, Emilie? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for showing me your space. Do you have 3 things that you might recommend to your bestie? They don't have to be quilt related, but what are 3 things that you are finding interesting right now?
I do. So first would be an Instant Pot.
I have one of those.
I love it. It makes things so much easier. You still have to do the prep, but especially when you want that one thing, you get, 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you want chili or something that takes all day. So I love that. I use it a lot.
Is that your favorite thing to cook in it, is the chili?
We do you can do so much stuff in there. So I don't really have a favorite, I guess. So, and then the other, and I left it on the other side of the room, is like half square triangle tape that goes on your machine right in front of your foot.
Show it to me, because show it to me, because I wasn't sure what that was. Is it because I like diagonal seam tape? Is it maybe
that's what it is?
Okay. Like, oh, it's almost like a washi tape that you.
Yeah.
Yes, diagonal seam tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some great stuff.
The label was gone on it, so.
Yeah. Do you have it on your sit-down machine right now?
I don't have it on there right now because I haven't done any, and really, after you run a lot through there, it does start to kind of roll up a little bit, but you don't need much. So if you have to replace it.
So it's just like it's a tape that goes onto the throat of the machine, and it clearly shows you where the center of the needle is and 1/4 of an inch on each side. So it makes doing half square triangles so easy because you can line it up really quickly.
It does.
Yeah. So. Well, what's your third thing?
So the third thing, and I'm just excited about it. I haven't used it yet because I just got it. I got the rainy day kit for my long arm, and it has a small magnet in it that helps ensure that the needle is placed correctly and has the little divot on the correct side, because that is actually something that I worry about when I'm changing my needle on my machine. So
yeah, and I always say,
and I didn't know about it.
If you're new to long arming, when you get your machine, when you put your needle in, because you can put a needle in easily backwards on a long arm machine because there's no flat spot to the needle. When you put your needle in, to double check yourself, go ahead and manually cycle through a stitch with the flywheel before you hit the button and do it electronically. Just because if you do have it in wackadoodle, you can feel it as you use that flywheel to drop the needle up or down. Because if it's not oriented correctly, the hook will kind of bang into it, and you can feel it as you go if you do it manually. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good tip.
Yeah. How long have you had your machine, Emilie?
About a year.
About a year. Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see your Mad Hatter quilt when you get it done. You'll have to post it in the clubhouse so we can see it.
I will.
Oh, Emilie, if somebody wants to connect with you online, how can they find you?
My website is goldenratioquilting.com. I am on Facebook and Instagram as well at Golden Ratio Quilting.
Perfect. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emilie. Don't you just love her space? I love how she's made it her own, and I love those teapot blocks. That is adorable. I can't wait to see you when you have that finished, Emilie. Thank you so much for your time. I wanted to show you some new arrivals that we have here at Quilted Joy, and there are 2 new books, and one is made by one of my quilting heroes, and that's Editor Starr of Laundry Basket Quilts. And I don't know if you know of her work or her fabric line, but I just, her palette, her taste, her design aesthetic, I love, love, love every minute of it. So this one is Pillow Talk, and what she's done is she's created these little mini quilts that could be made into gorgeous pillows for your home. So I'm just going to move it up. Can you see that okay? So look at all of these pillows, all these different ways that you could create little quilty loveliness that could sprinkle your home. And take a look, don't you love this photo? So it's a VW Bug, right? Which is what my mother-in-law drives, actually, and a yellow one at that. And then look at all of the pillows on top. If only we could drive down the road like that, right? Can you see that okay, Kelsey? And then she also has them here on the stairs, all these different varieties. I really love just the aesthetic, and wouldn't this look gorgeous in the home? So that is Pillow Talk, and we have that here on the Quilted Joy website, and we do have it at a discount from the recommended price that's printed on the book. And then this is the other one that I wanted to show you. This is Annie's Quilting, and this is quilts to make in a weekend. And so we've been talking about kind of friendly designs, kind of designs that you can knock out pretty quickly and then use to practice your machine quilting on. And so she has a lot of really beautiful ideas in here, gorgeous quilts that go together more quickly. And a lot of these will use those pre-cuts that we talked about before. That one, Hens and Chicks, with all of the different churn dash. So anyway, those are the 2 that came in recently that I think you would enjoy, and like I said, they are over there on the Quilted Joy website for you. And I would ask that you review us on Google. There's a link in the description and on your screen, and it just allows a Google machine to tell itself to tell them that we are reputable, that people enjoy what we do, and that allows them then Google to serve us up to more folks. Of course, the best possible thank you that you could possibly give us for our time and effort that we put into the Clubhouse each month would be to share it with someone that you know who would enjoy the Clubhouse. I do read all of those reviews personally, and I appreciate your time to help me grow my business and give us a little kudos for what you're getting out of the Clubhouse. So thank you. Okay, so in the Quilted Joy Clubhouse, there on Facebook, which if you aren't in the Quilted Joy Clubhouse, I encourage you to join. It's full of the kindest, nicest, most supportive quilters around. And a lot of folks will post photos of a quilt they're working on and ask, how should I quilt this? So each month we put out a call for people to post a photo of a quilt that they have that they don't know how to quilt, and then I will select one and show you how I would quilt it if it were my quilt. So what did I pick this month? All right, so here you go. This is the quilt that I picked this month. And this one is from Missy. And she did this, again, with pre-cut strips like we were talking about before. This is the Moda Ombre Confetti line. And she has it in these strips. So the first thing, Missy, if you are on a sit-down machine versus a long arm machine, things are going to be a little different. Let's talk about if you're on a stand-up machine. As far as where to start, Missy, is what I'm saying. So if you were on a stand-up machine, I want you to think about how you would load this quilt. So would I load it oriented in the way that I have it here on the screen? Would I load it this north-south orientation? No, I actually would load it long ways, and I am going to work down each strip. So by loading it long ways, I can move my machine down each strip, up and down each strip. It's going to actually be a little harder to quilt with what my ideas are, going short ways, going from east to west. It's going to be much easier if I orient it so that I can quilt along the long way. And so the first thing that struck me, Missy, were those white squares that you have going across the quilt. And of course, they're spaced a little differently, right? Some are a little further apart and some are a little closer together. These are more traditional kind of checkerboard, and then the white squares kind of get a little space further out. So I had a couple of thoughts on those white squares, Missy. And my first thought was, and here I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, just hopefully can you see that better? Okay. So the first thought, Missy, was just to go through here and do a loop. Now, I just talked to you about north-south orientation versus east-west orientation. But in order to get the look I'm after, these white ones, I would need to quilt in the spans. Ooh, it reoriented it. Hold on, I gotta find it again. There it is. I gotta work in the span I have for my bars. So on my long arm machine, let's say I have this much room on my bars. So I would work and do these little loopies and then roll it forward and then do the next group. So I'm doing it, I'm chunking it. But as far as like what to put in those white squares, I was just thinking these little loopies might look interesting. The other thing that I thought about, Missy, was just a straight line, right? So let's say I chunk it there, and then I roll it forward, and I chunk it here, and I roll it forward, and I chunk it here. Of course, I'd be doing everything. Yeah, I would be doing all of these. Hold on. I'd be doing all of these. And I'm going to show you the order I would stitch it here in just a second. I just want to kind of deal with these white squares. So what that would look like, let me turn that one off. And this is what it would look like combined. So Missy, what I did is I did every other one with those loopies. Okay. And then I thought, well, then I'll do these alternates. Let's see, I need to get this one. I'll do these alternates in that straight line. Straight line, straight line, straight line, so that it's every other one. Okay, so that was my idea for how to deal with the the small white squares. But let's talk now about the strips. So for the strips, I'm going to take off my white strips so we can just talk about the strips. So for the strips, I want you to imagine, Missy, so you've got a center mark. You've got, like, there's a center mark here, right? And there's a center mark here of this rectangle. So of this rectangle that you made that block with, there's center marks there. And of this rectangle that you made that unit from, there's center marks here. So I'm interested in those center marks between each of those rectangular units that this quilt was made from. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down to that, what would be the center mark, through the intersection, which is also the center mark of the bottom portion of this unit, and then to this center mark. And then through that center, to that center, and to that center. And now my centers are changing as I go through your quilt, which is what will make this interesting at the end. Now these checkerboards are all the same, so I'm just going to each of these centers. And remember, I told you I would orient this on my machine so that it's east-west, the long way, so I can do this all in one pass. Now they're getting bigger, so I need to go to that center, to there. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. Go to that center and there. And if you're interested in the program that I'm using for this, we do have a tutorial on our YouTube channel. It's a free program. It's called GIMP, G-I-M-P, that you could use, and I show you how to use it if you want to. And then I'm going to head back. Same thing, center to that center there, center to that center there, center to that center there. And you could absolutely use a ruler for this, Missy, but I'm almost wondering if the freehand kind of variance might make things super interesting. All right, I'm going to go up. That lack of perfection might actually be super interesting. So I'm just arcing up to the center of each of those units that make up the quilt. And then I would sneak over, and then I would come back and just do the same thing. So if doing it freehand makes you nervous, just grab a ruler, something with an arc in it. Probably not a circle, although in those checkerboard in the middle, that probably would take an actual circle. But I'm almost thinking like a freehand arc might be interesting, because what it's going to do is kind of create this watery movement across the quilt top. Can you see that okay, Kelsey? All right, and up to that center and there. And then I would just keep on going. All right, so I'm going to show you that. So here's your quilt, Missy. Here's your quilt. This is how I would quilt it if it were my quilt. And I'm going to put that alternate white on as well. So there you go. With every other row having that loop, I'm going to take it off so you can see the difference, Missy. That's just straight lines, which is gorgeous. Works fine. There's it with the loops. And I told you that I would show you how to do those, this one, how to do those white squares. So Missy, when I come down, I'm going to start it on this one. When I come down and hit that corner, that is my magic portal where I can dip in. So when I come in and hit this corner, that's my magic portal where I can dip in and actually treat my whites and go down. Or what I would more likely do is just, before I get started, however amount I can fit between my bars, I would just go in and do all these blocks and cut my threads and just do those, get those out of the way, and then go back and free motion and move through the quilt and come back in the opposite direction. That's how I would do it, Missy. So there you go, Missy. I can't wait to see how you do this. I can't wait to see what you come up with, Missy. It's your quilt. You do whatever you want. but that's how I would quilt it if it were my quilt. So be sure to put a picture up in the clubhouse so that we can all see what you decide, Missy, because I would love to know what you decide. And we do have so many folks who do put their finished quilts up in the clubhouse, and I do want to show you some of those that have come through recently. So let's do a little quilt drooling here together. So Tammy posted this one. Tammy, gorgeous. Okay, so all of that paper piecing, all of that hard work, it can be very intimidating to figure out what to quilt in which area. And I really love this kind of, it reminds me of a treble clef almost that you put in these black spikes here. So Tammy says that she finished the Lumina Feather Star quilt for a client, and her client is Virginia. She freehand quilted it and she tried a few new designs. Oh my goodness. Tammy, I bet Virginia is thrilled. Don't you love this ribbon, this kind of swirling ribbon that she used to fill that space with? Gorgeous job. Great choices, Tammy. Thank you for posting that. And then this is actually, this is Gloria, and she says that she uses quilting panels so that she can take a break from piecing. And so that inner part is a panel with the trucks, and don't you love all the pebbles? And then do you spy that free motion wishbone in the borders that we just used a moment ago? And I really love how she mimicked her with her triangle, with her kind of shark teeth border. She mimicked the piecing there. Nice job. And then Jane posted this. How much fun are you having, Jane? So again, it's a panel. You guys, panels are so great for playing and practicing. And take a look. Jane's got hair flowing through. Her feathers are coming off. She's echoed the space here between the eyeglass. Just beautiful job, Jane. I can tell you are having a wonderful time. She says, I love quilting panels, and this one says it all. She who sews. Thanks for sharing that, Jane. And Andrea said this is her latest finished quilt. She used 3 patterns from My Creative Stitches pattern group called Edgewood. So she's talking about the computerized quilting designs. And she says, I think, I love how using nearly matching colors in the blocks makes things pop. I think I may have loved this quilt more if I'd gone with a medium gray in the black sashings and borders. Oh well, it's finished and lovely. I think it's gorgeous, Andrea. So if you take a look, what she's talking about is that she went bold with the colors around the actual block motifs, but then she kind of went quiet with the color choice in her sashings and her borders. And so what she's saying is that perhaps if she had chosen a color that actually was a little bit more contrasting in those sashings and borders, they would have shown up equally against the fabric choices or the thread choices she made for the different blocks. But I think it's gorgeous, Andrea. You did a great job. And Melissa, this is gorgeous. So Melissa, this is Think Spring, and she's got some cute computerized designs there around that focal print. And you know, sometimes the fabrics are super hard to cut into. They're just so gorgeous. And this kind of pattern where you can really show off those focal prints is a great idea. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me. I do want to remind you that next month on June the 1st at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, we are doing pebbles and pearls and how to use those with rulers and where to place those. And do join us on our social media. We have our Quilted Joy Facebook page, and you can also head over to Instagram, where I typically post photos kind of more in the life of what's going on in my little world. And then of course on YouTube, you'll find all of our tutorials and other helpful tips. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you at the Ask Me Anything in a couple weeks. Bye, you guys. Thanks.